Programming is not memorizing syntax, but it is about learning how to think logically and solve problems. Hi, I'm Yogita Kumar, and together we will explore one of the most powerful and popular programming language, Python. In today's session, we will be talking about why we should know Python as a language, character set, compromising it, tokens, expression, comments, data types, and input and output in Python. In today's session, we will be talking about why Python, the character set that is being followed in Python, tokens, expressions, comments, how are they being written in Python. Then we will be talking about the data types in Python, and lastly, how to take the input in Python and how to print the output generated onto the screen in Python. Now, we all know Python is a high-level object-oriented programming language. This was first developed by Guido van Rossum, and the first release of Python version came in the year 1991. Now the question arises, why we should be learning Python? Simple, because it's there in our course. No, it's not so. Today, everywhere we are using Python to write the code. May it be web development, mobile app development, in the field of artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybersecurity, data science, just to name few. So, once you are out into the real world, you should be having a knowledge of this language will add an advantage to your portfolio. Now, first, before we start learning Python, we have to install Python onto our machine. The Python environment is known as IDLE, that is the Integrated Development and Learning Environment. Now, in this particular environment, we are having two types of options. The first option is the Python shell, and the other option is the Python script. Now, let's try to understand what is the difference between the two options. In the shell option, you will be seeing a command prompt like this. On this command prompt, you will be writing a Python command and the output would be displayed. Say, for example, simple Python command is say print hello. So, output that would be generated would be hello. Now, the major disadvantage of using the shell is, that is, if you want to write, say, a block of command, multiple commands, and try to execute them as one unit, in that scenario, it is always better to use Python script because that will save your file. But here, what happens is, once you write this command, output is generated, this command is lost. Again, you have to retype the command. So in shell is good if you want to just test one particular command quickly, what would be the output. But if you have to do a coding part, then we have to use the script. In script, we will be writing down the Python commands as a group of commands, and that file will be stored as the source file. So source file is the file which will be written by you, the coder, and it will be containing the set of instructions to perform a specific task. It will be in high-level language, that is English-like statement, And the source code always have, a Python source code will always have an extension of .py. Once you have written this source code is worked upon by the Python interpreter. To generate an executable code. Now, the work of interpreter is to read the code line by line and find errors. If an error is found, it will point you to that error. You have to correct the error, and again, you have to interpret the code to generate an executable file which will show you an output. So these are the basic things that we should be remembering, that the Python source code is interpreted to generate an executable code. Normally, an executable code has an extension of .exe. Source code is in high-level language. Or we call it HLL, whereas the interpreted code will be in machine language or low-level language. That is LLL. So every time you are writing a code, it has to be interpreted to the executable code. The work of interpreter is to read your code line by line, and if an error is found, the error is pointed to you. If the entire code is correct, then it converts the high-level language into the low-level language. All the characters that are being recognized by Python form the character set of Python. This includes letters, that is capital A to Z and small a to Z. Then it includes digits. We have digits between 0 to 9. Then it includes white spaces. That is tab key, new line, return key, form feed. Then we have special characters. This includes plus, multiply, divide, percentage sign, double asterisk, brackets, square brackets, round brackets, curly brackets. So this is, I'm just writing few of the special characters. This list is long. Then we have the other characters. The other characters includes other characters, which includes all 256 ASCII code and Unicode characters. Now, what is ASCII code? American Standard Code for Information Interchange. American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So, the character set of Python is the set of characters that are being recognized by Python language. It includes letters, digits, white spaces, special character, and other characters. Thereafter, whenever we are writing a Python command, it can be broken down into simple units that is known as what? Token. So, what is a token? Token is the smallest individual unit of Python. Smallest individual Now let's look at what types of tokens do we have. The first token is the keyword. Then we have literal. We have identifier. Then we have operators. And lastly, punctuators. Let's look at the very first token keyword. This is also known as reserved word. It is a special word having a specific meaning for the interpreter. Variable name cannot be a keyword. Now, various keywords that are available in Python are, first one is if, we have for, while, elif, import. So I'm just giving you few examples of the Python keyword. They are part of the Python language. So we must understand that these are keywords. They are part of the Python language. The next token is identifier. Now, first of all, try to understand. How do you recognize me? You recognize me by my name. My identity is what? My name. In the same way, in memory location, we will be saving lots of values. Say, for example, I write A equal to 20. So this A is known as what? Identifier. So this is the value that is stored at a memory location called A, and it holds a value of what? 20. 20 will be known as what? Literal. So what is an identifier? Identifiers are the name given to different memory locations, that is the variable names, function, list, tuple. These concepts we'll be talking later on. Now, when we are giving a name to an identifier, certain rules must be followed. The name must begin with a character or an underscore, but it should not begin with a digit. Secondly, it should not be a keyword. Why? Because keyword have a specific meaning for the interpreter. Thirdly, it should have only the special character underscore. Even spaces are not allowed. There is a distinction between the capital case and the small case alphabets. So, the valid identifiers are, I can write sale 2026. I can write sale underscore 2026. I can write over here underscore sale. All these are valid. But what is invalid? If I write over here 2026 sale, it is wrong. I cannot write sale. I leave certain spaces and I write 2026. It is wrong. So we must understand that the correct way of defining an identifier. Now, the value that is being stored at a memory location will be known as what? Literal. It is also known as constant. At a memory location, we can store different types of values. So, we have different types of literal. The very first one is numeric literal. It allows us to store positive as well as negative values without decimals. So I can declare A equal to 1415. This is correct. I can write M equal to over here minus 26. This is also correct. But if I want to give any decimal values, then we have to do it as what? Float literal. So if I have a value of say 7.5 or minus 29.68, these would be what? Float literal. Then any character enclosed either in single quotes or in double quotes will be compromising what? The string literal. So if I write over here, say D is for Dexter, so single quotes D. M is for male, F is for female, so this way I can write in string, or I can write it as say Dune in double quotes. I can write Python in double quotes. So either ways I can use, but both will be considered as string literal. Even if I write Dune in single quotes, it will not give me an error. So string literals can be enclosed either in single quotes or in double quotes. Then there are certain values which we will be using in Python, which will have only two answers, either true or false. So there are two Boolean literals. So answer equal to either I write true, T capital, or I can write, say, over here, answer equal to false. So Boolean, there are two Boolean values, true and false, where the first alphabet is capital, rest is everything small case. Then we have collection literals. In this, we will be talking about list, tuples, dictionaries, but these topics we will be taking in depth later on. But for the time being, we just understand I can write list equal to in square bracket 12, 3, 19 like this. I can declare a list. I can declare a tuple within round bracket 7, 4, 63. So this way I can declare a tuple. Now the last of the literal is the non-literal. Non-literal means absolutely nothing is stored at a memory location. So if I write a variable name M equal to none, this implies that nothing, no value is being stored. Not even a space is being stored at a memory location. Next token that we will be talking about is operators. These are symbols which evaluate values and give us an answer. Different types of operators are there. Let's look at the first operator, arithmetic operator. The first one is exponential operator, double asterisk sign. If we want to write 2 raised to power 3, this can be written in Python as 2 double asterisk 3. Answer evaluated would be 8. Then comes the divide operator and the modular and the floor division operator. Both of them returns what? Quotient. They divide the two values and return quotient. But the only difference is 5 divided by 2, answer return would be 2.5. It would be decimal values. But if you want only the integer part of the quotient, then you have to use the floor operator. And we write 5, floor operator 2, answer would be 2. The next one in the lot is multiplication operator. It simply multiplies two values. So 10 asterisk 2. Answer evaluated would be 20. The next one would be the percentage or modulus operator. It returns remainder. So 10 modulus 2, remainder would be 0. But if I write 5 modulus 2, remainder would be 1. The next one is plus operator, which adds up two values. So 10 plus 20, answer returned would be 30. Near minus operator, the last of the arithmetic operators. So 10 minus 5, subtraction would be done and answer evaluated would be what? 5. The next set of operators is relational operator. Now, relational operator compares two values and provide us with a Boolean answer of either true or false. So, comparison of values is being done by the relational operator. The very first relational operator we talk about is less than. It works both on numeric value as well as the string value. In string, it compares on the data type. So if I write over here 7 is less than 10, answer evaluated is true. But if I write 7 is less than 5, answer evaluated would be false. Similarly, if I write over here by is less than good, here both are string constant. So the ASCII code of B is less than the ASCII code of G, and hence answer is what? True. But if I write over here by is less than apt, answer would be false because ASCII code of B is greater than ASCII code of A. For your reference, capital A has an ASCII code of capital A, ASCII value is 65, small a is 97. This is what you have to remember. Then we have the next one is less than equal to. So 7 less than equal to 7, answer would be what? True. But 7 less than equal to 10, answer would be false. So similarly over here, if I write over here by less than equal to by, answer would be true because ASCII code of each and every character is what? Same. Thereafter, if I write over here by, the ASCII code of by B capital is less than the ASCII code of apt, answer would be again what? False. Similarly, greater than. So if I say over here 10 is greater than 7, answer would be what? True. But if I write over here 5 is greater than 7, answer would be false. If we talk about the string constant, if I write over here good is greater than by, so if you look, the ASCII code of G is greater than B, so answer is true. But if I write over here ASCII code of by is greater than ASCII code of come, so ASCII code of B is greater than ASCII code of C. Answer would be again, it would be again false. This would be false. So over here we will be using ASCII code of by is greater than ASCII code of apt. Answer would be true. Then we have greater than equal to. So 7 greater than equal to 7. Answer would be what? True. Over here. But if I say 7 greater than equal to over here 10, so answer would be what? False. So 7 greater than equal to 7 if I write over here. So if I write over here by greater than equal to by, answer would be what? True. But if I write over here by greater than equal to good, answer would be false because ASCII code of B is greater than, sorry, again we have made the same mistake. By is, it would be greater than equal to apt. So answer would be what? True. Otherwise, answer would be what? False. Then the next one is not equal to. So if I talk about not equal to operator, 7 is not equal to 7. Answer is what? False. So if I talk about over here, so by not equal to by, answer is what? False. But if I say 7 is not equal to 10, answer is what? True. So if I say ASCII code of by is not equal to ASCII code of good, answer would be what? True. The last of the relational operator is equal to. It compares for equality. So 7 equal to 7. Answer would be what? True. But if I say 7 equal to 10, yes, answer evaluated would be what? False. So if I talk about over here, if I say over here good equal to good, answer would be what? True, because ASCII code is same. But if I say over here good equal to good in small case, answer is false because ASCII code of capital G and small g is what? Different. So the next operator is logical operator. When we combine more than one relational operators, that answer evaluated way is using what? Logical operator. So we have 3 logical operator: and, or, and not. And all these 3 logical operator again evaluate what type of answer, either a true answer or the false answer. For true, I will be using capital T. For false, I will be using capital F, just to make you understand. So if we have one condition as A, another condition is B, let's see what happens in AND operator, OR operator, and NOT operator. Now, the first condition is false. Then we have again false. We have true. We have true. We have false. We have true, false, and true. So these are the various permutation and combinations of the condition, and let's see what will be the answer. So if both condition in ANDing, we have to remember if any one of the condition is false, final answer would be what? False. One condition is false, final answer is what? False. One condition false, final answer false. Both are true, answer is true. In ORing, if one condition is true, final answer is true. Both are false, answer false. One condition is true, true. One condition is true, answer is true. And both conditions are true, final answer is true. Noting is being done only of one expression. So over here, noting means true will become false and false will become true. So over here, I say not of A, it will become what? True, true, false, false. Now let's understand few conditions. If I say 7 greater than 4 and 7 greater than 3, both conditions are true. So final answer evaluated is what? True. If I say over here 29 less than 65 and 7 is greater than 3. One condition is false, another condition is true. One false, one true, final answer evaluated would be what? False. Thereafter, we have ORing. So, if I say 7 is not equal to 6 or 7 is greater than 4. So, 7 not equal to 6, this is also true. 7 is greater than 4, this is also true. So, final answer evaluated is what? True. If I write over here 75 less than 80 or 63 greater than 9. So, 75 less than 80. This is also true. 63 greater than, I say over here, 90. This becomes what? False. So, final answer still in ORing would be what? True. Thereafter, we have the last one. So, if I write over here 72 greater than 18. And this condition I put as what? Not. So, 72 greater than 18 is what? True. Not of true will become what? Final answer would be what? False. So, these are the things that we have to remember when we are doing the logical operator. Then comes the shorthand operator. We have shorthand operator as over here we have divide equal to, floor operator equal to, multiply equal to, plus equal to, and minus equal to. Now supposedly initial value of a variable a is say 10 over here. Now if I say a over here, a over here, and a floor operator 2. This means we have to divide 10 by 2 and the answer would be stored in which memory location? A. So after this, a value will become what? 5. So this is different. Try to understand. If I write a equal to 10 and if I write over here m equal to a floor operator 2. So in this scenario, the value of m will be what? 5. But the value of a will remain 10. Here in this shorthand operator, what it does, it performs the operation and the answer is stored in the same memory location. Understand it again. If I say a equal to 40 and thereafter I write a multiplication equal to 10. So answer stored in a will be 4 into 10, that is 400. So answer of A will be what? 400. So these are the shorthand assignment operator. Again, remember, it first evaluates and then stores the answer in the same memory location. So this is all for today. I'll see you in the next session. Until then, happy coding!